Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice, as we're about to get into bracket number 2 that's already been going on a little bit whilst we've been towards the end of bracket 1 and having a few chats ourselves. I'm joined at the desk once again by Maynard, Artosis, and Pig, and currently Maynard is in one of the series going on in towards the lower bracket between ZvT and Lego.
I am, and ZvT's currently got a 1-0 map score here, and it kind of looks like this game hasn't got too much longer left on Abyssal Reef Kalaris. It's kind of looking like ZvT's going to get 2-0 here. I mean, I could be getting ahead of myself, but there's a lot of Immortals and a lot of Adepts heading towards a Zerg that has not much right now. Lego is in a bit of trouble. He's in a spot of bother.
Yeah.
As they say where you'll come from.
Spot of bother.
A spot of bother.
Yeah, I can accept that. That's fine. That's fine. But one thing that we do have to focus on now is the fact that we are going to have our first match from Group B, or Bracket 2, even, I should say, actually coming onto this stage. We're going to have Elazer going up against SouL here. So Elazer, I think we all know him very, very well from the fact that he did so well during last year in terms of BlizzCon, and we're expecting him to show good performances here once again, I think, right?
Interestingly, a few of the players I was talking to were saying that he hasn't been doing as well on the ladder lately with his consistency, and especially against Terran. Anyone who talks to Elazer will very quickly hear Terran is Imba, Terran is broken, Terran is unbeatable coming out of his mouth. These are the words he likes to repeat quite a lot. So he's definitely got a little bit of a mental block around Terran at the moment. So SouL, an up-and-coming player, doesn't have a lot of LAN results to speak of whatsoever.
No.
But he is a guy who's had flashes of brilliance in the past. So I think this could be a much closer match than a lot of fans are anticipating.
Yeah, SouL is not really that well known, but he is someone that's always up near the top of the European ladder. He practices a lot, plays a lot, and that is Elazer's weak matchup. So, I mean, I think this could go either way, but Elazer is pretty clutch in LAN.
It would still be a huge upset in my eyes for Elazer to go down here, even taking into account his mental block with ZvT. I still feel like Elazer has the advantage.
Right, and I think that game just concluded. So what was it?
It did. In fact, ZvT did a 2-0.
Okay.
Basically, the long and short of game number 2 was that Lego was going for a bust, and he overcommitted to it, and ZvT managed to hold and then counterattack just with a ton of Protoss units and Immortals. And
fair play.
Done and dusted.
Done and dusted, my friends. All right, let's check in with bracket number 2 to see exactly what is going on here so far, as well as where we're going to be going as well, because there is, you know, a few matches that actually did occur up towards the top. As you can see, there were some buys as well in the first round, because we did have Ro8 and Hate Me unable to turn up. So as you can see, Pili actually took a 2-0 against Sort of.
Yeah.
We had Marine taking a 2-0 against Daishi, but Pili against Sort of 2-0. That's a big result for him.
That's such a surprise. I mean, Sort of, he's a player who has like ups and downs, but he's kind of, you'd think he's way more consistent than Pili overall. Like, he's been a guy who last year at Valencia, I think it was, he had a really good run there, sort of looked very good, and he's had these moments. He's hit a top 4 way back in like late 2012 in an NASL. He's had a few good tournaments last year and the year before. Pili, this is, I mean, he's never really had a breakout at LAN at all. Yeah,
it's one of these bigger results. I mean, if you think about where Sort of has been, as you say, not only that 3rd, 4th place in Valencia, I think, in last year, but he also had a 5th through 8th at Home Story Cup, where he was the last remaining non-Korean to survive. So for Pili to actually get that upset is big.
That is a really big moment for him. I wonder what happened, because I even remember back to tours, and like, it sort of was killing nerds. He looked fantastic. He looked like one of the best Zergs in the tournament and barely lost, I think, maybe to Showtime, 2-3 or something. So it was, like, very impressive stuff. I don't know. Maybe Pili is just turning it on. I know this guy practices a hell of a lot. He's always entering these tournaments. So this could be his day. And let's not forget, this group, void of Koreans.
Yeah, that is true. So obviously we do have Elazer versus SouL coming up now. I was trying to direct a Pig there if you've ever played against SouL, but considering you're from the middle of nowhere, probably not so much.
Oh, back in the day, we practiced a little bit here or there. Couldn't really get him to come on NA ladder much, so not much from Australia. But a few years ago, I do remember playing with him quite a little bit. Funnily enough, I feel like he has the same sort of attitude as Elazer, in that he always has a mental block around one matchup, but it's about Protoss in recent times. So I think in TVZ he's actually very confident. So I think SouL, I haven't seen him play much recently, but usually he's reasonably confident in this matchup. He feels like he can get in his groove, and I mean, it's that mechanical matchup where if you are confident just playing a standard game, usually you do enjoy this one.
So how does the matchup play out overall? Like, at this point, you know, you're saying that Elazer doesn't really like to go up against so many Terrans at the moment. He thinks they're a little bit imber, etc. Is this a place where it's devoid of any hope here for Elazer, or is it just his skill that's going to be able to carry him through?
You know, I think his skill definitely has the potential to carry him through. I mean, this guy just got top 4 at BlizzCon.
Exactly.
Right? He knows how to play on LAN. He knows how to upset people. Yeah, you look at some of his matches, like the match against TY at BlizzCon. Let's not even think about that, okay? That's TY and SouL are different levels. So, you know, Elazer, despite saying maybe this is his tough matchup and he doesn't feel like it's super balanced or anything, look, it's fine, and he's a good player, and his skills should be enough to carry him through, but again, this is it's such a big open tournament. We have a ton of players looking to make that breakout performance. And we've seen some guys pushing towards it today, but we haven't seen anyone bring it all the way home. Will SouL be that guy?
All right, well, thank you very much, gentlemen. I'll be checking with you. Hopefully we have some more games to come on these laptops. But for now, we are going to head over to Elazer versus SouL with our caster team here for the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice.
All right, guys, we are moments away from starting our next best of 3. Ronnie, it's good to be back with you, man.
It is. Do you think we're going to get 4 games in this best of 3?
I think we will. We've gotten lucky the last few times we've casted.
Yeah.
What was it? Was it in
It wasn't
Montreal?
Tours.
Yeah, or no, it was Tours?
Yeah, but
we had
pulled against Strange.
Yeah, the crazy game. We didn't even know what happened. It looked like it was going to be a draw. So I've got my lucky Rotterdam here going into this best of 3. I think this should be an easy play here for Elazer, but you gotta expect anything.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's going to be easy. SouL is the type of Terran that is kind of flying under the radar, but if you talk to the European pros, they all have a lot of respect for him, and if he's really feeling it, if he's in shape, if he's confident, if he's just playing his A game, he's really capable of causing an upset here. He's a guy that can cruise around top 20, top 25 GM, and the European ladder is actually very competitive, so you really have to be good. And I think that for Elazer, this is just not a nice opponent. You know, obviously people expect him to be dominant here because he's supposed to be the top dog in Poland, together with Mana, together with Nurcho, and he's not supposed to drop games against other guys. And that always creates a little bit of extra pressure as well. I mean, I'm sure you remember this from your old days when you played Brood War. When people expect you to beat a certain opponent, that's when you start to get a little nervous.
Yeah, and then you're in a game and you're starting to lose, and you're like, no.
Yeah, especially when he's from the same country.
This is not happening. I'm not supposed to lose to this guy.
I know, and it just creates a little bit of extra pressure. It's a lot easier to often go up against somebody that's considered better than you, because then you're like, no, this guy's not better than me, and I'll show them that he's not better than me. Yeah. But so is, you know, a lot of people that don't watch StarCraft 24/7 or play at the absolute highest ladder, they're like, you know, this should be an easy win for Elazer. And then Elazer's like, guys, this is not an easy win at all. You know, SouL's actually
he might
really
be
good.
off the radar for some of our viewers, but certainly it's possible for Elazer to lose here. Yep. Elazer, look, he had a really good end to 2016.
He had a great 2016 overall.
Yeah, it was an amazing year for him, but let's see how it goes now that we're starting 2017 out. In the bottom right, in the red, he is SouL. And his opponent in the upper left, in the blue, he is Elazer. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, Elazer did attend the WCS Global Finals, but he didn't have the performance there that he was looking for. He did innovate this crazy Ravager rush, and he had that super close game. I think it was against TY on Overgrove, where it was so incredibly close, or it was Maru, one of the two crazy Korean Terrans. But in the end, it was just barely not enough. And overall, this has been a matchup where Elazer has struggled a little bit in the past. We saw it at the global playoffs, and we've seen it at a couple of the other European events as well. See, 2 barracks is being thrown down already.
Wow.
With all this talk about the Reaper, are we going to see some Reaper madness over here, Tasteless?
I think we might. Not a bad choice, I think, here. Testing the waters here against Elazer.
The waters on the underwater.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even mean to do that. Wow. Yeah, no, let's see how Elazer handles this. I don't know. You know, there's sometimes multiple reasons why you might open like this. One could be that you don't want him to see your more standard play when you go into game 2. The other one could simply be that you're not feeling that confident against a player like this. And we have 3 racks now coming down here, so the Reaper pressure is going to be real. Now, when you're watching a strategy like this, you really have to make sure you don't lose any Reapers. Even 1 or 2 that have been taken out takes almost all the oxygen out of the rush. So it's important that he controls perfectly here Otherwise, Elazer is going to get ahead.
Yep, if you take a look at the main base layout from Elazer, you can see there's quite a bit of surface area for these Reapers to hop around. Elazer in the past struggled a lot with this build. There were times where he said this build is unbeatable because even if you have perfect defense, you're still behind. Then eventually he got around there a little bit. He's like, no, okay, it's not that bad. You know, they finally figured it out. You make a couple roaches, you morph them into Ravagers, and from that point on, you slowly but steady drone up, and it's doable. Obviously, Elazer has played a lot against players like Utermo who love 3x Reaper openings, so this is absolutely not Elazer's first rodeo. Let's see how he deals with these Reapers from SouL.
Let's also keep in mind, guys, when he's making Reapers like this, you're not investing in Marines, and Marines definitely give you a lot more value later on in the game, so it's super important you do a good amount of damage as you come out in a match like this.
Interesting, he's just going to go with the Lynx, and this creates that very interesting scenario later on. That drone was supposed to morph into a hatchery. Good save there by Elazer. Once again, Tasteless, indeed incredibly important that SouL keeps his Reapers alive, especially because Elazer wants to just surround these Reapers with Lynx, and that can only go two ways. It really depends on how the grenades do. You know, when you try to surround the Reapers of Beyond, terrible idea. Yeah. Don't do that, you know, because you're going to lose every single Zergling and not a single Reaper will die. Let's see if Elazer can get the engagement he's looking for against SouL.
There's moments where you want to use the mines to try to chuck a Link towards you, and there's moments where you want to try to use that to give yourself a safe distance to actually escape. Now, when Link's speed is done, you got to be very careful. If the Reapers are more in the open, the more likely they are to get surrounded and taken out by those Links. But Lings are actually going around, Roddy. They're headed southbound over here to where SouL is expanding.
Yeah, but that's actually a very good little Sim City that SouL is going for himself. Just leaving 1 or 2 Reapers behind should be more than enough. And this is obviously going to make it a little bit harder. But this is good, though, by Elazer. He picks off a Reaper that was rallied across the map. And at least he's making it harder for that Reaper count on the other side of the map to snowball.
SouL's moving up right now. A very, very nice mine there. Launching those Lings all over the place. So badly bruised, there's no way they can try to engage again.
Yeah, that was actually quite bad for Elazer, losing all those Lings. He's going to be forced to cancel this hatchery. For a split second, it almost felt that SouL wasn't paying attention. I thought, man, these Reapers might get surrounded with Lings and Queens there. That could have been very bad. But instead, he handled the situation as well as he possibly could have. And I think that SouL's quite pleased with how this early game went so far.
Yeah, so far so good. That was definitely critical that he get up there and put that pressure on that hatch. So I think we could say that this rush, it worked.
Yeah.
He did the damage he needed to do. Obviously, the game didn't spiral out of control and Elazer lost, but he did slow Elazer down enough that Elazer's going to have to be respecting the play here from SouL for the next time being.
And it's going to be so hard, I think, for Elazer to keep that hatchery alive because now the other Reapers are joining up with the first Reapers as well. And this Reaper count is ridiculously high. I think we're looking at 11, 12, 13 Reapers even. That's going to be hard. I mean, Queens are good, but against this many grenades, I think Elazer is in a world of trouble here, Tasteless.
Yeah, he's going to be able to keep laying grenades here, and it's going to be virtually impossible for melee units like Lings to actually get up there and do the damage that they need to do. Note again, SouL coming up here, denying, or at least trying to deny some of these creep tumors. It looks like he should be able to take that one out. He chucks one more nade over there.
I'm not sure about this.
Oh my God, I don't know what's happening, Roddy. He does manage to drive those Lings back. Again, you got to be careful. Of course, when you have this many Reapers, if the Lings are not in an ideal position, they all die as well. Both Lings and Reapers, super fragile units that can be taken out, you know, at the blink of an eye. So this is really a fight that's played on a knife's edge.
Obviously, it's nice for Elazer that the hatchery does finish up and he didn't lose too many queens. I think only a single queen went down there, or maybe not even that. But I'm much more worried about the follow-up push. SouL's going to have 3 orbital commands to work with. +1 is on the way, +1 armor is on the way, and Stim is about to finish up. The very first Marine push is going to be incredibly hard to deal with. And these Reapers are still alive.
Yeah, he's still making this work, and Elazer is still up against the ropes here. I got to say, this is going much better than I expected. Elazer now with a lower worker count, and we're not even factoring in the fact that SouL has mules. So this is a really good opening here against Elazer.
Yeah, bad economic position. A couple of SCVs did die on the other side of the map. Small Ling run by. I assume 3 SCVs in the end will fall, but Elazer needs more. I mean, I don't think he even has a bailing nest yet. How on earth is he supposed to deal with Marines that soon will have Stim and 1-1 upgrades? That's going to be incredibly difficult to deal with. He does have 2 Evo Chambers, but I think there's a very good chance we're going to see a 1-1 Terran army fight against 0-0 Zerglings and potentially some Bailings without Bailing speed. and I'm not sure if Elazer can deal with it.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good window, time and attack. I'm not sure what Elazer can do. You know, a lot of Zerg players at a moment like this would try to do counterattacks to draw the Terran back into his base, but with Reapers on the map, I mean, do you really want to try that? If he actually catches your Lings and takes him out, it's going to get even worse.
Yep, a couple of Lings will try that, just as you said. But I mean, once again, excellent SimCity, and there is a bunker at that third orbital as well. Now these two medevacs are flying towards the natural of Elazer. Elazer does have a decent amount of Lings, and maybe the Queens can help out a little bit. But this is still going to be hard, man, especially if those upgrades kick in.
Here we go. The medevac's about to unlock. They are going to be hitting the natural, as Rotterdam was saying. The drone's being gunned down. The Lings come in, but this position here for these Marines is premium.
Yeah, pretty decent. The upgrades were not ready yet, but don't forget about the Reapers on the other side.
Oh my God.
They're going to be able to kill a whole bunch of drones.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. Now the Reapers escaping up here into the north. The drop still a viable threat on the map. But did SouL overextend? It looks like these Reapers have now been knocked out of this game.
Yeah, he did lose all the Reapers there, but at the same time he kept the medevacs alive. The Marines are still alive. Now the upgrades are ready, so if he gets in a similar position, it's actually going to be a lot harder for these Lings to get good trades. The Spore helping out a lot there, pushing out some damage on this medevac. But I mean, I have to quote Letot here. I mean, SouL's in a great position as he's up 20 supply, he's up 9 workers, and he's got those mules you mentioned.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. I think SouL can almost taste a win here. He just has to keep this pressure on. Now, Elazer is a very resilient player. This is a guy I feel like when I cast his games is definitely making a lot of decisions on his feet. He doesn't seem like he comes in with a pre-mapped out build. Is such a good reactionary player, so it's not impossible for him to recover, and it does feel like as each minute passes in this game, Elazer is getting a little bit of a better footing.
Yeah, he needs to get more Lings out. He needs to be able to be even in upgrades and a couple of Banelings. Baneling speed is more than halfway done, and the only hope for Elazer is truly to keep spreading creep and try to get Baneling speed to finish up, and then maybe get a favorable trade once or twice. But he's not out of the woods just yet. This is going to be difficult.
A good control there. Actually takes out one medevac. We just saw the last second of that as it was picked up. Elazer still keeping the Terran honest on the map, but pushing is now a reality. Is Elazer going to be able to hold this off? He's counterattacking with some of these Lings, but that means that there's not going to be as much to defend back at home.
6 Marines or 5 Marines it is. Might actually be able to get a cancel on this fort. That would be massive. The Liberators are not going to siege up it, so Elazer indeed gets the cancel. That's nice. I almost feel that SouL is making this game overcomplicated for himself, Tasteless. I think if he just grabs all his units at one place, I think he has more than enough. Instead, he's trying to do it with multi-prong, and it looks fancy and it's cool, but I don't think it's necessary.
I think you're completely right, Rotterdam. I think at a moment like this, you don't need to be fancy. You need to be basic. I mean, just make more, get together and try to push. Now, he's going for multi-pronged harassment. That's going to be, that's of course tougher, I think, than just one big attack coming right for him here. But yeah, if Elazer handles each of these engagements correctly, SouL is not going to keep the lead that he started out with in this game.
I mean, SouL is still absolutely in the driver's seat, and he's playing an excellent game, really showing us why we hyped this guy a little bit and why we said he is a very good player. Now, this main is incredibly exposed. I love this drop.
Nice. Coming in over here, he's taking out a few workers. Looks like the Spore will take out that Liberator. Meanwhile, over here in the main, a good pickup by SouL as he is running everywhere, doing so much damage. Supply 105 to 162. Our Terran player in a massive lead.
Yep, absolutely. He has an upgrade advantage. This is once again a moment where I'd like to see him just grab all his units at one place, leave a couple at home to deal with run-bys, but go for this parade push. Stop dropping and just try to do some critical damage, because this is your moment. You have an upgrade advantage, still a tiny one that is right now.
That's an insane amount of Overlords that were just picked up there for free. As he continues to come down here, good pickup, dodging the Baneling. I feel like Elazer is hanging on by a thread. Nope. Not even by a thread. No. The thread broke, Roddy.
It was a thread.
Don't hang on by a thread, guys.
It was not a very stable one.
No.
Great game by SouL.
That was pretty sick by SouL. Now, will he go for the 3 racks Reaper play again? I don't know.
Very map dependent, I'd say. I mean, there are a couple of absolutely terrible maps for Reapers. Like, you think of Proxima or something, you don't want to do anything crazy with Reapers. Even Cactus Valley, I'd say, is a pretty damn bad Reaper map.
Yeah,
and a few others out there. But obviously, Abysso is one of those maps, you know, it reminds us a little bit of Frozen Temple. Great game by SouL.
Let's go ahead and go to the analysis desk and see what the guys down there are thinking about this match and the other matches we have going on here today at the Intel Extreme Masters.
Thank you, Tasteless. Yeah, we have actually a lot of games going on currently, or have partially concluded at least. We can check in already with Pig over on the very far edge there, who is currently in Optimus versus sort of, I believe.
Yeah, Optimus took a game 1 on cross-map honor grounds with a 3 racks Mass Reaper opening into just a very aggressive kind of double Marine drop style play. He was pressuring all over the place. He was playing really well. Now here in game number 2, he's opened up with a Hellion Banshee opening. Has already done quite a little bit of damage to sort of, but sort of surprisingly, even though he had Hellions and Banshees in between all his bases, he kept most of his drones alive. He's stabilized now, and Optimus had actually cut SCV specifically to be as aggressive as possible. Right. So it looks like sort of has managed to stabilize, and now he's back in the driver's seat and well on his way to equalizing this series, getting it back to that 1-1.
All right, well, thank you very much, Pig. Now moving on down the line, we do have Artosis, who was in Zasta versus Euthermal, correct?
Yes.
Can you give us a rundown of what happened in that third game?
Well, it was the third game, obviously, so tied up 1-1.
Yeah.
Euthermal did end up being able to take that. It was kind of like a little bit of a messy game early on. Some quick speed and whatnot, so the command center to be built in the high ground inside Euthermal's base. But he went into that 2-on-1 play, you know, the stim timing, and into 2 E-bays after that, just was dropping all over, pushing in, eventually gut Zanser's already kind of late third base. And there wasn't much recovering from there. He kept that pressure on, and Zanser was not able to stabilize.
That's what we'd come to expect from a guy like Euthermal, of course, in today's age. So, of course, now we still, on the main stream, have the game going on here between SouL and Elazer. And Maynard, you were watching that quite closely.
I was very closely there, and I really have to give a round of applause to SouL there because he didn't play the matchup, he played the player. He did exactly what Elazer hates to play against, and he played it very well. So he really got inside of his mind, and it just seemed like the 3-rack Reaper, the game went on a little bit past that point, but it just he got Elazer into a rough spot that he couldn't dig himself out of.
Causing his opponent frustration, and then never letting off on that gas.
Absolutely.
For sure. Okay, so that does it for us here for the moment. We can head over to game number 2 to see if SouL can continue on that trend, or if Elazer can bring it back.
It is time for game number 2. Elazer right now down with a loss. This could be, I guess I would say it's an upset, but it's not actually that huge of an upset. SouL is solid, but I think we have to say, just based on how well Elazer did last year, especially at BlizzCon, he's supposed to win this.
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of these matchups, once again, if you're a diehard, you're really into the scene, you're like, I can actually see SouL take that. But it doesn't change the fact that it's an upset, because you're looking at one of the most successful foreigners in 2016. Absolute breakthrough year for Elazer, had a phenomenal run in multiple events, and obviously BlizzCon was creme de la creme for him, where he finished top 4. That was fantastic. And SouL, if you look at his best result, it's making the second group stage at Home Story Cup. That's a completely different ball game. So obviously it would still be an upset.
In the bottom right, in the red, winning game number 1, he is SouL.
Tasteless, if you're doing these intros, how can you top yourself at day 5?
I don't know what's going to happen, man.
You're going to make the
We've never gone this far before, Roddy. There's no turning back now. In the bottom left, in the blue, he is Elazer.
You're killing me, man.
Okay, so a lot of people, don't know this, but I actually played chess with Elazer on this app on my phone. And
he's very good. He's very, very
so good at chess. And I would say I'm not terrible, but like, you know what it's like playing Elazer in chess on my phone? Have you seen that movie Looper?
I don't think so.
You haven't seen Looper?
Maybe
There's a scene where this guy's fingers start disappearing, and then his arms and his legs. That's me with my chess pieces. I'm like, no! As everything's just disappearing.
Yeah, I didn't know that you played against Elazer, but I do know that Elazer is incredibly good in chess. And I think he told me once that he started playing against a couple of the guys in the SC2 scene, and he was just giggling about how easy it was.
Oh my God, no, he just wrecks everybody.
Yeah,
and then
apparently
I beat
like
him
a real
once.
grandmaster or something.
The last time I played him, I beat him, and then I retired.
Oh, really?
I beat him, yes.
Wow, not bad.
Yes. That entire story was basically just me setting up to say that I had beaten Elazer in chess.
You know what would be even more impressive? Passing Euthermal in Geometry Dash.
Oh my God, he's so good at that game.
If you can do that, Tasteless, I'll donate you $1,000.
Oh, all right. I can't do it.
No.
All right. Going into this game, if you're just now joining us, we have Elazer down right now with a loss. SouL is doing a very good job. SouL did win with a 3 racks Reaper rush, really putting the pressure on and forcing Elazer to really respect the map presence that SouL was able to acquire that last game. But this game is sizing up differently because SouL is elected to do a different build.
Yep, Newkirk Precinct, one of these maps where 3 racks Reaper is just not the way to go. There's only one way into the natural, and then there's only one way into the main base. Makes it incredibly hard for the Reapers to be very effective. And let's not forget about this ramp over here, so the Reapers need high ground vision all the time. It's just not a map where you want to go 3 racks Reaper, so I think it's very smart for SouL to switch it up. And now we can truly see what he's made of. I mean, we saw him use a build that's very effective on Abyssal, and we also know that's a build Elazer struggles a little bit with. You know, the favorite thing about the last game was Elazer was sending out a couple of links, trying to intercept the reinforcements, which I think is very smart. But the moment that SouL lost his first Reaper, he's like, all right, let's not do that anymore. He changed the rally points, and he waited until he had 4 or 5 extra Reapers. And at the same time, he was still active with his other Reapers on the other side of the map, and just never lost a whole bunch of Reapers. That was incredibly well done by him. But this is a completely different game, and the Reaper control does not matter. Yeah,
you raise a very good point. I mean, because this game is being played by a different set of rules, we're going to see, and I guess what we could call a more orthodox Terran versus Zerg. How healthy is SouL's TVZ?
Yep, we're about to find out. Ro8 being thrown down already by Elazer. That's kind of early, if you ask me. We do know that Elazer loves his crazy pushes. He's going to sacrifice one of these Overlords just to see what's going on. He's going to see the starport, he's going to see that tech lab, unless SouL tries to trick him. And this Overlord is super dead.
Yeah, good call there to just try to pull that Overlord in a little bit further. It's not like it's going to be able to get away.
Oh,
that's not good. Meanwhile, Hellions coming in here trying to take out some of these drones. So far, 8 have been killed, but it looks like the Hellions have been cornered and will be taken out.
I still think that's all right, though. 9 drones. It almost felt like he could have got a tiny bit more then. Losing 4 Hellions in the Reaper is obviously not the dream. I think 9 drones is kind of the minimum you want when you sacrifice 4 Hellions in the Reaper like that. If you get less than that, it's just absolutely not worth it. Right now, I'd say that SouL can probably live with it, but it's nowhere near as good as his situation was last game.
So the Vikings' function right now on the map was to clear out all of those Overlords over here. Good block here with the Hellions. Those things won't be able to do anything else. And then the Viking can go around and try to just zone in all the rest of the Overlords.
What's going on? He temporarily built an armory there just to get a wall off, then he canceled it. We have a Raven as follow-up.
Yeah,
the Ravens are pretty cool because those auto turrets, they slay drones. I watched the Nathaniel stream and I see a lot of drones die to auto turrets.
And while we're talking about that, let us never forget the day that Nathanius had the SCV pop out of a command center and kill a Reaper.
It's amazing what that man can do.
Nathanius' entire life led up to that moment. Okay, that was it.
I think that was his greatest play since the Nation War snipe on the medevac on the little island.
Yeah,
that was
I agree.
Next level too.
Okay, so he's going to chuck down a few auto turrets here. You want to try to go for the drones, not the Lings with this.
I guess too. It's something.
Well, you know, this is something that's been growing in popularity, and I really like it because you're just spending mana and you don't use Ravens right away for anything. I mean, if you're going for Ravens, you're not probably going to be pushing immediately.
Why is he building a Ro8 again? Did he cancel his early Ro8? What happened?
Let's take a look. So we got a Ro8 making there.
I thought he was building a Ro8 when he was on 44 supply, but I guess after he killed the Hellions, he just canceled it because he's like, I don't need it yet.
He thinks the threat's over.
Yeah. These Ravens are going to be very annoying. Every time the Lings are out of position, you need to pull drones. If you don't pull drones, you're going to lose 4 drones pretty much all the time.
Nicely done. So that's 6 drones total that have been picked up with just the energy of the Raven. And especially when a Zerg's doing a build like this and the tech is pretty gradual, you can't really do anything about the Raven flying around the map. There's no easy fix to gun it down from the sky.
Yeah, and there is double Raven now as well. This is going to be incredibly annoying for Elazer. Yes, he has a very healthy work account now. It's 61. But if he ends up losing 4 more drones twice, then suddenly it really becomes a little bit painful. Good job there on that auto turret. This time he does react, but still 2 more drones go down.
Okay, the Raven harass is starting to build up. We have Elazer taking a 4th base while SouL is taking a 3rd. Now, this 4th base that we have Elazer taking, this is basically the safest 4th base that you could take on this map. So I don't know if that's going to trigger the push coming out here from SouL, but a lot of times Terrans do like to push the Zerg while they're trying to acquire that 4th. On this map specifically, we do see some Terrans tempted into rolling up into the 2nd base and trying to wipe out the main instead of trying to make a cross spots push, basically, pushing to the farthest corner from your production facilities.
Upgrades are looking a lot more healthy for Elazer this time, as these Hellions will morph into Hellbats, but that's not going to be enough to gun down this hatchery, as it has quite a bit of HP already. At the same time, Elazer is trying to be annoying. The two medevacs that are making their way across the map can make this a little bit more complicated, but now the Roaches and the Queens will show up. Does SouL have enough firepower? If you can get a cancel on this fort, that's obviously massive, but that's not going to happen. Maybe the Raven can join this little push as well?
It's a little bit odd. I wasn't sure if he was going to drop and try to fight those Roaches or what, because when the Hellbats are in that, well, when they're in Hellbat form, it's not like they can run away, you know. Still, the continued auto turret drops here are serving SouL very, very nicely. A good counter down here as Elazer does come in and try to kill off a few more of these Marines and SCVs down here, but I gotta say, I feel like SouL is doing a really good job.
Absolutely, but at the same time, I'm also impressed with Elazer, how he's dealing with those two Ravens that are incredibly annoying, and at the same time, he didn't overcommit. If you send too many units to deal with the auto turrets, that's when these 60 Marines show up, they stim forward, try to snipe your fort base, and then suddenly you're in a world of trouble. One Raven died, by the way. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, I didn't see that either. I do want to point out, if we can go back a little bit here, the reason why he gets that Viking, getting rid of those Overlords allows the Ravens to come in and surprise you, because Ravens are pretty clunky units. They're not going to zip around the map like speed medevacs, where even if you know it's coming, you might not be able to stop it. If you can see the Raven coming in, you're probably going to be able to run away in time. Speaking of running away, is SouL. Oh, he's going to be able to pull out. It looks like only 5 SCVs go down 6, which obviously is still not good for SouL, but it could have been a lot worse. He could have lost every SCV back there.
If he's looking at one of his medevacts on the other side of the map, or if he's controlling the Raven and those Banelings surprise him, if you end up losing 15, 16 SCVs there, that's where it becomes incredibly painful. Elazer, however, is getting to his favorite tech, and it's always been his favorite tech in this matchup. He used to be very good in this matchup before the Ultralisk got nerfed a little bit. They lost one of their armor points, which makes a massive difference, obviously, because old school Elazer ZvT was all about greedy, 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 get the Ultralisk out, let's go. And that's how he was winning the majority of his ZvTs before the Ultras got nerfed. Now, obviously, it's a little more complicated. Even when you have Ultras, it's good, but it's not the free win it used to be.
All right, so SouL has deemed this moment a period where he can actually try to push in here. It looks like he'll be forced to pick up as he gets pushed up against the wall. Wow, okay, actually stayed there a little bit longer than I thought, but he did trade out a lot of units. Zerg not really coming out on top quite over there.
He was down in upgrades. That's the biggest issue. You know, if SouL would have been even in upgrades there, that was actually a pretty sweet spot. Yes, the couple of Roaches in the back are annoying, but there's a good chance he would have been able to gun down a lot of those Marines. This time, however, that was not the case at all.
He is going to try to come in here again later on and try to take out some of these SCVs. Keep in mind, a lot of those SCVs are bruised down there, so if the Banelings connect at all, they're probably going to be picked off.
A little sloppy losing all these Queens. There's a couple of Banelings will roll forward as well. The tanks get picked off immediately. Solid game by Elazer. Here come these Banelings. Can they connect?
Oh, sick! 23 SCVs. That was so nicely done there by Elazer. Or rather, excuse me, by... No, it was by Elazer.
Yep, absolutely.
I should never second guess myself.
No, you're never wrong, Tate.
I know, that's right. Never, ever, ever. No, that was really nicely done. Back there, and that's a huge crippling blow to the economy there of SouL, and that's going to take a while before he can build back up and economically stabilize against a rapidly growing Elazer.
These Ravages are a little bit annoying. Now the drop in the main perhaps finding a little bit of damage as well. SouL is doing a good job at picking up a couple of drones here and there, but if you look at the work account, Elazer is still at 70 drones, and now it's not one Ultralisk, we're looking at 3, 4, 5 Ultralisks soon, and Chitinous Plating is about to finish up, and this is where Elazer will hit his stride.
Okay. If he's going to push forward with the Ultralisk, it means that he's confident he can commit. Ultras cannot run away easily.
I'd like to see some Infestors before he goes to the other side of the map.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think there's a lot of room to kite here with these Marines, right? And there's, what, 5 Widow Mines over there? Yeah, 5 Widow Mines. I don't think this is going to go bode well for Elazer, but let's find out.
Well, it depends a little bit on the mines, right? Sometimes they do some friendly fire, but I agree with you. I think this is also an unnecessary fight. Elazer, you can start 3-3, you can get Infestors, but seems like he wants to go for it. Questionable decision so far, and I think that Elazer is starting to realize this as well. He is giving away Ultralisk.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. This is unnecessary for Elazer to try to do this right now. I don't believe he was maxed out before this push happened.
No, nowhere near.
No, right?
He's hovering around 155.
Yeah, so, and this is the problem, is we're seeing right here. The Stim Marauders can actually catch up and start to really bruise those Ultras. So I think that was a mistake. I think Elazer should have focused on just continued growth. Granted, it can be pretty tricky on this map. Eventually, it is cut in half, and Zerg don't really have any convenient spot to expand to. They've used up the left side of the map, but I do think Elazer should have waited a little bit longer.
I think what he was hoping for is that SouL barely had any Marauders, hoping that he was incredibly heavy on the Marine side, and then you can perhaps go for it with a timing like that. But right now, this was just not the right time. The same can be said for SouL, though, because he really doesn't have that much bio here.
See how fast that Ultra died? Didn't even quite get to connect with anything. The push is continuing onward. Elazer up against the ropes. And I'm not sure if he's going to be able to stop this. The Ravager's going down now. Basically, every Marauder Marine has its own personal medevac.
There's no fungal yet on these Infestors. There will be fungal soon, though. The tanks will get picked off. Reinforcements have arrived, however, for SouL. He has a slight army supply advantage. There are 4 Ultralisk on the way. Ooh, these Infestors. Losing those Infestors would be really painful.
Yeah, they're kind of out in the open there. The army's basically been all healed up. It seems like SouL realizing he's in a good position, perhaps a little bit worried about overextending, instead goes for some drop play here. As you know, obviously, when it's this close, you want to be very, very careful, because I think SouL's taken most of these engagements pretty well.
I really think that Elazer just has to chill out a little bit and try to start his 3-3 eventually. He's getting very close to being maxed out right now, so why not go for it? Try to get those extra upgrades. Try to get a few more Infestors, because Marauders are good against Ultras, but not if they get fungal. That's only when the Ultras will really turn the tide on that battle again.
How many medevacs? We can get a unit check here. How many medevacs are actually
14.
in this game?
50.
15 medevacs. This is insane. Oh! Fungals do go down, and it looks like this might be a good fight here with those corrosive vials comboing in.
Yeah, a couple of medevacs will go down. Fortunately for him, he had 15 of them. But this is a much, much better fight. You can really see that these Infestors made a massive difference already. And now suddenly these Marauders and Marines are having a much tougher time against this army.
And that game was decided right there at the end. I gotta say, really, really nicely done. Elazer, he made some mistakes early on, but I think he made the right call by just basically waiting for the Terran to overextend, and then the tides of Ultra, Infestor, Ravager, especially with fungal comboed with corrosive bile, is so devastating, because it's not like you're trading units, you're just casting spells and eliminating everything. Yeah, SouL got a little bit too deep in there, and Elazer flipped that game upside down.
Yeah, Elazer played great, I'd say, in the first 10 minutes when he was defending against the potential drops against the Ravens. Really didn't lose all that much. But then on one moment, it almost felt that showed the insecurity he has in his matchup, where he really didn't need to do what he did.
Yeah.
But he just kind of donated a couple of Ultras. He was kind of one of these players like, maybe this is my moment. I can maybe win right here, right now. I should go for it. Rather than just being like, actually, no, I'm in a great position. I can get 3-3. I can get Infestors. But that also, in the end, he was far enough ahead to get away with it. But I think it did show a little bit of insecurity.
I think you're right. Of course, this is not the only game going on at the Intel Extreme Masters, so let's go to the analyst desk and see what other matches are going on and how they're turning out.
Thank you very much, Tasteless. That's right, we do have some series going on, and in fact, we can jump straight to Artosis now, who is indeed with Ziggy and Matiz in game number 2, I believe?
Yeah, game number 2 right now. Ziggy, the Terran player, is leading 1-0, and we're on Abyssal Reef. This has been a crazy game so far. I haven't seen this many fungals on Terran units since like Wings of Liberty. We just by like a minute missed the craziest battle before the Greater Spire was done. Like Ziggy has been pushing all game, trying to kill him. But there was a huge group of mutas, and he eventually was able to trade well enough, hit enough fungals that he was able to hold. But like Ziggy is not letting up. He's got his 4 bases. He's going on to 5, and this is a nail-biter right now.
All right, thank you very much. And of course, we do have another game going on down on the very end with Pig, with Optimus and sort of currently in game number 3.
Yeah, this has been an action-packed one. Optimus is really committed to the aggression so far this game early on, but sort of here has just kind of started to control the middle phase of the game. The big problem he's had, though, is he's way down on upgrades right now, and there's this big 2-2 push that's moving its way across this map. So Optimus is really looking for a big fight right at this power point. We're about to see it come together, but Sorto's just trying to buy time while doing a huge Zergling counterattack at the back, and this game's about to go crazy very quickly.
All right, well, actually, we can stick with it for a moment. Are those banelings? Oh, okay. Oh, that's a dead hatchery. Sorry, fellas. All right, well, thank you very much, Pig. And of course, we still do have our current series going on here between our two in Elazer and SouL.
Yeah, I was watching that one.
Yep. What do you make of game number 2?
There are definitely still signs of Elazer having a bit of a mental block in the matchup because he was doing things like, he's throwing those Ultralisks in the mid to late game there. Had a few, a few mistakes, a couple indecisions there.
Yeah.
But I mean, really, that was sort of more what I expected from Elazer, where he's just so good that he wins anyway. Game 1 didn't turn out that way, but game 2 certainly looked like what I expected.
All right.
And keen to see game 3. Very excited.
Yeah, and that is on the way in just a moment. So thank you very much, gentlemen, down the line as we continue to keep you updated as much as possible what's going on in all of the games here at the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. For now, though, it's going to be game number 3 between Elazer and SouL to find out who moves on forward further.
All right, sick. Let's now go into game number 3 here. SouL versus Elazer. Who do you think is going to take it, Roddy?
It really depends on the map. I want to see the map, and then I'll give you my prediction.
Okay. I honestly think Elazer can pull through. It seems like if SouL makes any mistake during the series, Elazer is able to capitalize on it so effectively.
No, obviously he's still a very experienced player. I mean, in the early 2016, we always said like, oh, this very talented Polish Zerg, but he doesn't really have the experience yet. Like all of these guys, they've gone to 1 or 2 Home Story Cups. That's where it all starts. That's why Home Story Cup is such a treasure, I think, of the scene, because it really allows people to get experience in a fun environment as well. It seems like the map is going to be played on Belcher Vestige. I still don't want to make a prediction. Take it away, Nick.
In the bottom right, in the red, he is SouL! In the upper left, in the blue, our Zerg player, he is Elazer!
Seems like everything is standard so far. SouL not doing anything crazy over here on Belcher. I think Belcher is an alright map for SouL, because I think in general the 4th base is kind of hard to defend. Definitely a little harder than it is on Newkirk City, I'd say. A lot of Terrans absolutely not a fan of Newkirk. Optimus mentioned it to me earlier today when somebody asked him, you veto? He's like, yeah, of course I veto Newkirk. He's like, you ever played TVZ on that map? It's impossible. I think Belcher is a little less impossible. It's gonna be a hard one for Elazer, that's all I say.
Let's see what happens. We don't have, obviously, a build like we had in game 1 here from SouL, so at least for now it appears this game should and could be going in the direction of something similar to game number 2, which is basically just a standard TVZ where the Zerg has a little bit more freedom to expand and grow. But of course, there'll probably be some Hellion pressure, something like that.
I did really like the way that SouL played game number 2, where he kind of just sacrificed the Hellions early on, tried to get a couple of, that's a very early Roach run by Elazer.
Yeah, never mind everything I said, guys.
Well,
I take it back.
There's not, I mean, I don't expect a crazy Roach build here on Belcher. I mean, Belcher is kind of a long map. Belcher is one of these maps where you think like, oh, it's really not that big, it's a 2-play map. No, Belcher is very big. There's a crazy amount of bases here as well, and it actually takes quite some time for slow units to make their way across the map. I don't think it's going to be all-out crazy aggression. Let's see how many Roaches Elazer decides to make.
So we've got 3 Roaches on the way right now.
Might morph those into Ravages and then go back to droning?
It's possible. We also have these 2 Lings coming up here. Now he's trying to buy time by fishing these Lings away with this 1 Marine and then use the SCVs to fight this because he doesn't want to force a cancel. Or even if you delay this command center, it's actually pretty annoying. So we have 2 Ravagers making. I think there's 1 more Roach that's about to hatch, and he's going back into drones with that.
Well, the Reaper does get a great scout off here. It's going to spot the first Roach immediately, so now SouL should sort of know what he's going to have to deal with. Elazer is indeed going back to droning, but it's not 3 Roaches, it's 4 in total, and obviously all of them could potentially morph into Ravagers. I am curious to see how SouL decides to defend this. Cyclones can be good, but the range of the Cyclone really makes it kind of awkward against Ravagers. They can often eat a lot of damage that you don't really want to deal with. But waiting for a Banshee is also going to take a pretty damn long time. So let's see how SouL decides to clean this one up.
Okay, now Zerg can be pretty abusive up here with the Corrosive Bile. Terran doesn't really have a lot with their army to try to help defend this. Now, it seems like the bunker's in a pretty good spot. There's SCVs ready to repair, but this command center might be forced to lift up. And we see one nade chucked over there. And yeah, you can use the Overlord here to basically shave off the depots. And this is a bit of a hiccup in the Terran's rate of growth.
Yep, I think it's going to be a Banshee indeed, as he does start that first Banshee before he loses that supply depot, and he was going to be supply blocked. He's going to lose the other one as well. Cloak is also on the way, but I believe the Overlord should be able to spot that. These Ravagers being super annoying, but don't forget, this is a massive early game investment for Elazer. It may not look that massive, but making the Roach Warren that early, making 4 Roaches and morphing all of them into Ravagers, that really slows you down a lot. So he's doing a good job and he needs to do more.
He's going to be able to deny.
Oh, that's bad.
Sick.
He needs to repair that. He needs to repair that.
He needs to get over there right away. These SCVs surrounding that tech lab, and it looks like there he does gun down the Overlord. Yep, he does get it. And so, oh no, hold on. He's just going to. Okay, he's not going to go up there. I was like, you crazy, Elazer. So just to emphasize how strong that rush is, Terran nearly lost the barracks back there. Okay, like, it's crazy. You know, a lot of times you see corrosive bile used to force other units to move around. But in that case, it really, if you're not able to engage them directly, they can shave off a lot of your structures very quickly.
What's the queen count at?
Let's take a look.
Queens.
2.
So, I mean, it was a pretty successful rush for Elazer, but I still think he hoped perhaps to do a tiny bit more, because it's only a matter of time before these Banshees will find an opening. They should absolutely always be able to get at least a couple of drones. They're doing indirect damage already by forcing out multiple spores. And let's not forget, if 2 Banshees show up and there's only 1 Queen, Queens do all right against Banshees, but not if they're outnumbered.
Yeah. And I think you were 100% right in really emphasizing back there, Roddy, the fact that, I mean, it's not like Zerg got to rush those with those Ravagers for free. No. Zerg did make a lot of sacrifices on the back end that might not be as, you might not be as quick to notice if you don't follow a lot of StarCraft. That's a pretty dramatic rush. Now, with the Banshee, he's going to try to come in here, take out some drones, and get a feel for what exactly the tech is going to be next from Elazer.
Really good job by Elazer, though, making sure that he had spores in time in every mineral line. If he doesn't do that, often you see a Zerg, it's like, oh, no, I just want to be a little bit greedy. I'll make my spores later, or I'll try to defend with an Overseer. And that's when you start losing 7, 8, 9, 10 drones. Only losing 3 drones, that's pretty sweet for Elazer.
Okay. The Banshee's coming in now on the edge. He's going to try to take out a few more drones. These 2 shots from the Banshees wipe out workers very quickly. I think Elazer's done a pretty decent job, though, overall, being prepared for this.
He's going to end up losing a couple of Overlords, and that does sting a little bit, because this is not a phase in the game where you want to be rebuilding those Overlords. He wants to be rebuilding the drones he's losing. 1 Banshee goes very low on HP, but does survive.
So it's 3 bases versus 2 for the time being, but I think SouL did a pretty good job teching into the Viking, for instance, here. Now he's wiping out these Overlords. Let's not forget, in Game 1, SouL had a pretty good edge for a lot of that game and was doing a really good job with the push. But on a map like this, again, if Terran overextends and Elazer has a really healthy late-game tech, it is possible to swallow up that Terran army and wipe it out.
Yeah, it's also going to be mostly a Roach Ravager-based army, I assume. And there's a couple of links being produced. Does he even have Zergling speed? I never saw him get Zergling speed. There we go.
There it is. It just started. Yeah.
That's 7-minute, 10-second Zergling speed timing. Alrighty.
Yeah, wow. Well, I guess that's what happens when you do a weird Ravager build like that.
Yeah.
So Terran's going to go and take the 3rd base. Both races can basically take the 3rd base very comfortably. Now, on this map, if you look at the would-be locations of the 4th base for Zerg, you're kind of close to the Terran.
Yep.
And, you know, it's not really clear which one might be more desirable to take, the upper left or the upper right.
I still think the upper right is a little bit easier, because there's actually a pretty long distance between the natural and this fort that would be over here. Elazer has no idea about this drop in the main, I believe, and that could become very painful, because he has no unit here at all. So 1 Overlord will get gunned down immediately. 2nd one goes down. The macro hatch is taking a little bit of damage. I'm not sure if that would be my priority. I think just stim forward and try to get as many drones, but he's going to go for the macro hatch instead.
Yeah, I think once he did some damage to it, he was kind of stuck, you know, having to finish the job off. Yeah, really nicely done back there. Note Elazer just now unblocking his supply, so his production rate could start to grow again. And when Zerg go for a Roach Ravager like this, Terran can bully them for a couple minutes throughout the game. by dropping here, there, and everywhere. And it's up to the Zerg to be ultra prepared. You have to be ready right when they drop to come in and deny it, and ideally gun down some of those medevacs.
The Ultralist Cavern is being trolled down. This Viking is still being annoying as well. And obviously, oh, that's a big 9 hit. 16 links going down there. Even in the end, it will get cleaned up. But don't forget, yes, last game Elazer went in Ultras in kind of a similar type of game, but back then he was ahead in upgrades and he had 4 bases, and I think it's incredibly important to have 4 bases if you want to play with Ultras. I think if SouL identifies what's going on, he could just sit back for a little bit and try to deny that 4th base, slow down even further, and then it's absolutely not a bad game for our Terran.
So SouL coming in these little areas and trying to chip off some of those some of the creep there so that he can deny mobility. He wants to have that creep pushed back as much. Oh, that's cute.
It was cute.
I like that. Just making good use of that Viking, landing that. He did take out the creep timber there. But yeah, I mean, this map is pretty much lights out for Elazer. It's pretty tough to know where these drops are going to come from because he did such a good job with that Viking driving out all those overlords.
I also think that once you see the Viking die, you should just start spreading overlords again. Why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's a really smart move.
You almost never see that. It was like, no, the Viking really did die. This is that very clutch moment where Elazer gets his 6 Ultras on the way. He's researching Kindness Plating as well. 2 upgrades are on the way for the Terran. Like, it's not going to be an easy fight by SouL by any means, but we saw before that he dealt very well with Ultras before the Infestors were on the field. And he actually never got great use out of his tanks. I think if he's able to siege the tanks up in a good position while he's still distracting with a drop in the main as well, I don't think it's really doing anything. Take a look at the main real fast. Yeah, all those Marines just died.
So let's see if this push is going to mirror the results that we saw in game number 2, because once SouL actually started committing to pushes and actually trying to stamp out these bases, that's when Elazer was able to seesaw the game back into his favor. He's sieging up, putting these tanks pretty far back. The Ultras now gathering up. Do we have Infestors out with this army? We do not.
0 Infestors. First Infestor is on the way at the moment. It's 6 Ultras, which obviously is a little bit scary. What Elazer is doing, though, is he's making it very hard for SouL to push. SouL obviously just wants to run towards that 4th base, siege up the tanks, and then reinforce up to that point. That's the way that he wants to play it. And Elazer says, no, that's not going to happen. You're going to siege already all the way on your side of the map. Otherwise, I'll jump on your tanks and they'll be useless. And this is actually allowing him the time to get Infestors out. Really good play right now by Elazer. This is probably the best play that he's had all series.
Now he beat me to it. I was going to say he needs to get another army out on the map to try to counterattack. We do have Lings on the left side of the map just by this tower, and it seems like SouL wants to engage that directly and try to bully it back. But that means that upper right base, that 4th base for Elazer, it's going to be a little bit longer before it's denied.
The clock is ticking, and I think that SouL has no more faith in his push, so instead he's getting a 2nd starport. Perhaps he eventually gets Liberator range or something like that. He's going to try to intercept a couple of these units on the left side. Meanwhile, this one tank is very, very exposed. Does get a good shot there on a few Banelings.
All right, we have the Marines, the Marauders coming up. Okay, he's actually going to go for the main. This is kind of crazy. We're going to be entering into a base trade scenario as the Marines now stem forward. They're heading in. Banelings are morphing, but this could be denied, and it looks like it will be.
Oh, this is going to be so wild, Tasteless. How do we always end up in games like this?
I know, we're the lucky casters, man. We always get these crazy games. So he's pushing in here now. Now, keep in mind, he can actually choke out all of the tech for the Zerg in the upper left side of the map. I believe that's where all the tech is. And then possibly go back and try to fight this army at the bottom. Elazer now regrouping after stamping out those 2 additional bases. Keep in mind, guys, SouL is basically not mining for the time being.
He does have Burrow, correct?
I don't know. Does he have Burrow?
So yes. What could be very cool here is a couple of infested Terrans on top of these tanks to do some friendly fire.
Oh, yeah. You got to utilize mana here, right?
I mean, the supplies look very, very dramatic for SouL, but that's mostly because he has no workers at all. Fungos will go down. Elazer is going to try to clean this up.
He's coming in right now. These Biles are now landing. It looks like this Terran army is about to get swallowed up. But are there enough Lings with these Ultras? Coming in, he gets a pickup. And I can tell you guys right now, Elazer with a much more functional economy than SouL. It was a gamble, and Elazer knew exactly how to confront it. And I think SouL is so crippled, I don't even believe you can come back from this.
Yeah, he just didn't have enough there. It looked like a very scary contain, but the tanks were perhaps a little too on top of each other. Great fungal there by Elazer. Gets a couple of crossing balls as well. And these Marauders are pretty much the last thing that stands between Elazer and moving on to the next round. GG.
GG. Well done, Elazer. That was not an easy fight for him, though, but he did come out victorious. And I got to say, SouL really impressed me back there. He's a very good player. But you can see as the game gets further and further along, a player like Elazer knows exactly what to do. And, you know, StarCraft games, they're kind of like special little snowflakes. They're all different from each other. So you have to have a lot of experience in these different scenarios to know how are you going to melt this snowflake, okay?
Now, I love the way that Elazer was playing there while he was trying to secure his fort and really benefit from that fort, going for the counterattacks. And eventually, like, he pulled the army so far out of position that SouL was like, well, maybe I can just cut off the connection between all your bases and I can kill the natural and the main. And Elazer's like, well, you could potentially do that, but this also means that your main army is incredibly far away from your reinforcements, which wouldn't have been the case if he would have just allowed SouL to push towards the normal fort, which is obviously what SouL wanted to do. So Elazer really forced this weird game upon SouL and then capitalized on the mistakes SouL started to make. Really cool play.
We are going to go to a short break, but we'll be back soon with more StarCraft II action here at the Intel Extreme Masters.